Okay, welcome to the 2020 Mayors Forum. We are so excited you are here. We know we are about 5 minutes behind, but it is 2020, so I would say 5 minutes behind is pretty darn good. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Erin Carter, and I'm the president of the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce. If you are joining us on Zoom, welcome. We're so happy to have you. If you are joining us on Facebook Live or watching this later, we are also so happy to have you. We are joined today by Addison Mayor Joe Chow, Carrollton Mayor Kevin Falconer, and Farmers Branch Mayor Robert Dye. So we are quickly going to show a slide of our wonderful sponsors who we simply could not do it without. So if you will roll the sponsor slide, and we're going to quickly show it to you, and then we will get back to them later, and we will absolutely read their names again. And it looks like maybe people are still waiting to get into the webinar. Okay, so we may be just talking to ourselves, which is also an exciting opportunity. I think we have to hit broadcast. And that's okay. This is also a good opportunity, and I'm so happy that Wes told me, so that's exciting. He might be texting Mary and he might be texting me, so that's a good opportunity.
Maybe we shouldn't have our phones on.
Yeah, it's good that we have our phones out here. One of the best things, they can, okay, it seems like everybody's all good now, so that's good. This is such a fun opportunity, and that is why I cannot think of 3 other people I would rather do it with than you 3. So for the sake of fun today, I'm just going to call you guys Joe, Kevin, and Rob. We're going to keep it really simple, and we're going to get to the meat of the matter. So for the past several months, we have really rolled up our sleeves and got into the business community, which is no different than anything else that we've been doing. But honestly, when COVID started in March, we really just sat down as a team and said, we care about our business community. And so for the first part of the Mayor's Forum, we're going to talk about what it's been like to work together and serve our business community. And then after that, we're going to get back into what's next. And I think that's really what the 3 of you are best at, is weathering some storms and continuing to work together to advance our business community. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Are you all ready?
Let's go.
I mean,
Aaron.
if you're not, it's too bad. We're all here together. I mean, they were talking before we started, and they all wore navy-ish suits. Kevin wore a little bit lighter navy just to break it up. But if they don't want to answer the question, they're just going to like slowly blend into the chair. So we'll see how it goes today. So how has COVID changed the way you view your role as mayor and how you lead your city? So Joe, we're going to go ahead and start with you down at the end.
All right.
Okay.
Because Addison begin with the A.
Yeah,
Addison begins with an A.
You know, my name is Joe Chow, Mayor of Addison. You know, first of all, I want to thank Erin Carney for hosting this, and the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce has done a great job over the years. So as Mayor of Addison, we always support Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce. You know, I think the role of mayors becomes even more important. You know, the reason why, you know, a lot of businesses closed down after shelter in place. You know, those businesses are so valuable. So as mayor, you always need to listen to the need and also find out the challenge. So, but also in the meantime, you need to make sure, you know, you follow the federal, state, and county's mandate. So you have to pursue a balance. So as mayor, in a way, always promote how we can give the small businesses a grant, so to help them stand up again. Yeah. So that's, I think, mayor become even more important. Don't you think so?
I agree. I agree. The interesting thing is that when you go through this crisis that we've been in, is that you really do, as Joe said, you start to recognize the importance of leadership in crisis. And it's not easy when you're in that situation and you have to make some really dire decisions that affect your constituents dramatically. And you know that you're affecting them in possibly immediately negative ways, but ultimately we're looking at what's best for the entire community, the health of the community, which is always the health, safety, and welfare of our community is always first and foremost. So it's a difficult thing, and we're doing that with limited or no data. But as Joe said, it's something that we sign up for and that we have to do. I think I was looking at, I think Carrollton, you guys, I bet you're similar, has had maybe 1 or 2 disaster declarations in its entire history. And I think while I've been mayor, we've had many more than that in just the last few months. So it's an odd situation like everything else about 2020, but it is an important time to step up as a leader.
Yeah, and I share the same sentiments as Joe and Kevin, and it's been interesting, you know, as a mayor, when normally, you know, our job is a non-voting member, at least for us two, you know, Joe, you get to vote, you know, we're setting an agenda and kind of using our time to network and build relationships within the community, right? And kind of prepare for, you know, whatever we need to do when we need to act. But then when COVID hit and the world kind of shut down, you know, for the first time you recognize, as you said, that leadership and that opportunity to kind of step forward and represent your community the best way possible. And, you know, what decisions are you making that are going to be not only quick, because you have to respond quickly, but effective, not only for our residents, but for our business community as well. And, you know, it was kind of stressful at sometimes, and, you know, being on calls with you all, but recognizing the relationships that were formed, you know, during those previous 2.5 years to understand who do I need to call, what decisions do I have to make, and then realizing you have a staff that you can lean on to help kind of execute. I think, you know, our communities fared very well through COVID and kind of rebounded a lot more quickly because of that. And I just, you know, I was grateful for, you know, being able to call both of you. What are you seeing? What are you sensing? You know, being able to call, you know, Judge Jenkins as well, and just get them on the phone when a crisis happened, because, you know, typically no one ever really knew what the roles were and how to respond, but figuring that out and having that under your belt, I think it's just, it was good.
It did strengthen, I think, as you mentioned, it strengthened the bonds of certainly us, but I mean, even beyond that, the number of mayors meetings, county meetings with our judges and our, those are some of those positive things that came out of it that will be long lasting.
Yeah.
I could not agree more with that. And speaking of relationships, we would not be able to be here today if it wasn't for our relationships with you three, but also with your city staffs. And so many of your teams, including your economic development teams and your communications departments, some of them are here. We're in a very limited space at the Firehouse Theatre, and we're incredibly appreciative for their staff. But your communications departments and your economic development teams have rolled their sleeves up as well to make this work. So we're incredibly appreciative for that. But you know, 2020 has been a year of disruption, and it can either own us or we can own it. And I think businesses really relate to that, because we know that as business owners and business representatives and liaisons, we've really had to use disruption to better ourselves and make our businesses stronger. But in a municipal sense, there's been some changes in the way our society has viewed disruption as well. So this question I'm going to piece into threes, and each of you are going to get a chance to grab at it. So Rob, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about your police task force.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, kind of birthed out of just the social unrest going on, not only in our communities here locally, but, you know, nationwide, and having a lot of residents reach out, ask questions. What are you doing about this? What actions are we taking? You know, I didn't feel it was right for any one of us to make a decision how we need to police, and it's how does our community want to police itself? And so bringing a very diverse group of people in to have a conversation to not only understand what we've already doing that hadn't been codified, that, you know, people just weren't aware that was happening, but, you know, what else could we look at doing? You know, where have we seen successes in other parts of not only the DFW Metroplex, but just around the country, where, you know, looking at how do we improve, how do we evolve? Because if you're not willing to look inside and find new opportunities for growth and improvement, you know, you just, you know, in my opinion, you're kind of dying. You're not growing and changing for the better and what the world is looking for. And so, you know, I was grateful that we had community members come in, that I was able to engage with our police chief, our lieutenants, you know, even talk with officers about what the community was sensing and feeling and the ideas that came out of that. And, you know, one of the frustrating things was, you know, the misrepresentation from some of the leaders in the community about our values and what we were trying to do, because we could have spent so much more time speaking about the positives that were coming from this, that were going to move us forward, rather than trying to counter, you know, negative arguments and the politicization of the whole thing. But from that, we codified a lot of the things that a lot of people, not only in the region but the country were looking for, things that we were already doing. But we looked at how do we, look at mental health aspects, not only with our officers, but with people on the street. How do we look at new equipment that's going to help our officers stay healthy or do their jobs even better? How do we look at different ways to enhance pay in some way, shape, or form so that we're better to recruit in a time when it's very hard to recruit? And I think what came from that was a very positive message on how to move forward, where do we need to go, because you can support a lot of the social unrest and injustice that's going on in the world and support your police at the same time. And our community loves our police department and our first responders completely, and that was kind of the goal and mission. I think we achieved that, and we've seen some people from even the POA respond favorably to what we kind of accomplished. And while it was a very difficult conversation, it was a conversation we needed to have, and I'm just grateful for the community and our police department and everyone that kind of engaged in that process, because I think it was a worthwhile endeavor.
Absolutely, and you're going to continue
Great.
the conversation.
Yeah.
We have to support our police.
Yeah,
They're on the
absolutely.
front line, and like we brought some food over, provide them more face masks. So I think everything you do, you can help them.
Yeah.
We even put up some signs. Some citizens make some signs. We are proud of our police. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Kevin, the next portion of the question is for you. Let's talk about your police listening sessions.
Sure. So, like what Mayor Dye and Chow just said, we're very proud of our police departments, and in Carrollton, our police department is dedicated to public service, and that is from Chief Miller and Chief Redden. That just goes right down, is that how we hire, how we train is about public service. And that is, I think, the most important thing about having an appropriate police force. And so, but we know, as usual, and like you said, we have almost all of the issues that we've seen recently. We already have things in place to help prevent that. Nobody's perfect, but we have things in place, and most of us have had that for quite a while. But it's about getting information out, and we've done a lot of that with our website and increasing transparency. But what we recognized is that we really needed to hear from the community, and we get that through email and those things. But we wanted it in a dialogue format, and so Chief Miller and I talked quite a while back, and this pandemic didn't help things any, because we really felt like that would be good to have it in a face-to-face format, right? Not just Zoom. And so when we got to the point where we felt like we could do that in a safe format, and we did it in our high schools where we were socially distant, and we had two really, really productive sessions of being able to hear from our citizens. And that's what it was. It wasn't about us presenting some big long presentation and line of dialogue. It was really about getting people to come and tell us what their thoughts, concerns, issues that they had. And in both of those came away with some really good information that we can use to help our policing efforts, because it really is, when we talk about policing, it's an entire community effort. It isn't about just the police officers, right? So we're very excited about how that went, and expect to continue those in some form or fashion over time, because of how much value we see getting out of those.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, let's hear about the rapid changes in the tourism and hospitality industry.
In Addison, we have 23 hotels, as you know, and we have more than 4,000 hotel rooms. This business was hit the hardest. People canceled the conference, and then especially the larger the hotel is, the worse it's going to be. Like Crown Plaza chose to close down completely. As a small business owner, it's very difficult to run a business with a limited number of employees with a little bit of business. So it doesn't justify the cost. So they chose to close down. But I find it interesting is all the smaller hotels, by comparison, has more business. You know, not as good as before, but they have better business by percentage than the larger hotels. So we feel real bad about it. So like Marriott, and they still stay open. We're trying to do our Metrocrest Mayors Association breakfast meeting. They couldn't do it, period, because they don't have enough employees. They don't even keep the IT guy on board. And then Intercontinental Hotel right now changed to Renaissance, and they try to close. So we tell them, stay, since they still book some parties. But it's just difficult. And we lost a lot of income as well. You know, they lost income, then we lost a lot of hotel tax, right? So in Addison, we charge 7% occupancy tax. Then, you know, everybody lost some money. But in the meantime, we cancel all our special events. So normally cities subsidize those special events. So this time, you remember, the federal government give the money to the state, give it to the county distribute it based on $65 per capita based on 2020 US Census. So we receive around $900,000. So we allocated $500,000 to give some small business and restaurants. But the remaining, we're going to offer a grant to other hotels. So I hope we can help them. Instead of focus on the marketing effort to the conference, so we changed that to like a weekend stay. So, you know, some people don't want to fly, right? They don't feel safe in flying. So they drive to different town. Addison is a cool city, still got so many restaurants, you know, and even with some closed down, but we still have a lot of restaurants open, including mine.
Yes.
So, so people want to come to Addison, just spend a few days, then go back home. So, for that, I really appreciate, you know, our marketing director, Mary Rosenbleeth, and her staff, you know, Crystal Cho. They have done wonderful job. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that our business community can remember is that there's so many ways to get engaged and involved in any of these topics. And one of the best things we can do, even socially distanced, is continue to be a part of the conversation. And while we're apart, we can still come together and continue to have the conversations that matter. And so if any of our business community watching is interested in engaging in these continued conversations, they should reach out to you, because that's how we continue to advance our communities, is raise our hands and say, I have ideas, I want to be a part of the conversation, tap me in. So I encourage any of you watching, if you want to be a part of the conversation, each of your offices are always open and open to new ideas. But quickly, we're going to hear from one of our sponsors, which is really the reason we're able to make this happen. So Atmos, we're excited to hear from you.
Which cameras are they all going?
They're just all right. Thank you so much, Atmos. We absolutely could not do it with you, and we will continue to talk about our sponsors as we get through the rest of the program. But back to the program, small businesses are often the heart of our community, and so we're going to talk next about the importance of small businesses. So small businesses select our communities due to low tax rates, accessibility to talent and transportation, and our strong, consistent leadership. That's a kudos to each of you. So I want to make sure the viewers at home know I'm talking about our three mayors, but you know, I'm also talking about lots of things in our business community, but really about the three of you. We have collectively partnered and done the not so sexy work of retention lately. Nobody says like, hey, retention is so fun, but now it's really more important than ever, because as we know we're attracting new businesses, we also have to really work together to retain those that are most important to us right now, which is what we have. So what have you done recently that have helped retain our businesses, and just let's talk about small business in general. Kevin, I'm going to start with you this time.
Okay, thanks, Erin. So in Carrollton, we have over 15,000 businesses, and most of those are small businesses. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of our small businesses. And I think that one of the most important ways that we can really make sure that is again with communication and quite frankly partnerships like with the chamber. So we're so proud that we have a great chamber where we can utilize that to get that partnership and to figure out what is the best way. A good example of that was our Safe to Work and Shop, which we implemented a couple of months ago in the middle of this crazy time. How can we get people back out to using all of these, retail and restaurant type facilities, as well as other businesses, right, that have to be able to open their doors to the public. And so that was, in my mind, a wonderful example of partnership with our chamber and being able to get that out to our businesses and help them to get that business back in the doors and to be able to do that safely. So it's all about the relationships, it's all about the community, again, about hearing from them, creating a great business environment, and that's what we want to do.
Absolutely. Joe?
You see, after this pandemic, a lot of small businesses got hit. Earlier I talked about, we distributed quite a bit of money to 22 businesses, and including eye doctor, quick coffee place, small restaurant, big restaurants, based on their percentage of loss. And then yesterday, Orlando Campos, our economic development director, and we visited 5 businesses to give away the check. Everybody feels so happy, and everybody was waiting for us at the door. And I just tell you, if we can do more, we will always do more. But in the meantime, Addison takes some advantage. Even though we don't have university or college like you have Brookhaven College in Farmers Branch, we don't. But surrounding us, you have UNT, UTD, SMU, a lot of good universities. So we can get a lot of talents there. Besides, we have 2 great development, mixed-use development, like Vitruvian, Addison Circle. So a lot of Gen Z young people graduated from college, they love to stay in those 2 mixed-use development. I mean, I live in one of those, so Emily. So every day I see a lot of Gen Z's kids, they are smart. And most of them are working at home now, But Addison have so many office buildings, and most businesses are clustered together, like insurance company, banks. So we can find a lot of talents, I'm very confident after this pandemic, we can even attract more young generation people, work, live in Addison, Especially we have so many restaurants, as you know. They love to eating around, Yeah.
Absolutely. Robert?
And, when we think about small businesses, I think of one story that kind of comes to mind during the pandemic. And, big game sports, produces a lot of footballs, not only for most of the high schools in around the area, but several colleges nationally. And, they were concerned, like, what are we going to do? But the CEO there, Chris Calandro, came to me and Erin one night, and he was like, hey, I have all this sewing equipment. I think I'm going to pivot to making masks, but I don't know if I can be open. And so he called and was like, hey, can you write me a letter to, make sure that I'm essential business so that when my employees are coming to work, like no one's stopping them or anything when, COVID kind of hit. And so wrote the letter, and they came in and started going to work to put people to work because he was concerned about his employees and making sure that people, had a job, had some security, and they pivoted and they started making masks, but they leveraged the relationship not only with the city, but with the Metrocrest Chamber as well, because Aaron went to work immediately contacting small businesses, not only in Carrollton and Addison, but also Farmers Branch, to say, we have a supplier that's making masks that can get these for you quickly. And, using those relationships and, those connections to pivot and make changes that are going to keep people employed and keep people going, I think are important. But it was also the listening sessions that we did, going to business to find out what they need. And like your other cities, in Carrollton and Addison, with our CARES funding, we gave almost $1 million to small businesses. We gave $400,000 to hotels. We gave another $400,000 to just restaurants, because our restaurants don't have patios. We have so few. We're not blessed like a lot of you. We're getting there and working on it, but the restaurants that we do have, we care about because they're staples in our community. And we said, how can we get them more occupancy? How can we get people to come in? So we changed our code, opened it up, allowed for parklets, and they've been so grateful that now they have outdoor seating, places where people can gather and feel socially distanced, and it allows them to serve more people and survive during this difficult time. And I think it was a game changer for our community, something that I hope isn't just temporary, that stays with us, to say this is what people are looking for. And just talking with Nuevo Leon the other day, Maggie was saying that sales are up 250% since we've done that.
That's
and
great.
Seeing those type of things, being able to evaluate a tough situation, find a solution, act quickly and pivot. I couldn't thank our staff enough for how well the entire staff across the board moved, whether that was from the city manager's office to economic developments to planning and zoning to just finance across the board, making sure that all those things worked in harmony, even communication and working with the chamber to get those opportunities out. You're starting to see it take fold. And, I think, just having those relationships and coming to the table and willing to get creative and innovative in tough times is, what's helped a lot of these businesses push through. And, we've just been thankful in Farmers Branch that, hopefully not too many businesses have had to close, and that hopefully they rebound even better after this because they have new opportunities in front of them. And yeah, that's the way we've kind of tried to work through it.
I think something that is so hyper unique to each three of our communities that you don't find all over Texas, but you definitely don't find all over our country, is that when any small business calls one of you, and it's always your cell phones, you answer. And there is absolutely something to that in a community in which needed you and needed a chamber or needed someone in your planning or zoning department or someone in your economic development office or communications. And there's something to that. And so on behalf of the small business community and corporate business community, and really just the Metrocrest 3 cities, thank you for your continued hard work during this time. I know from our board of directors, it was really refreshing to continue to see each of you work tirelessly, because you each have families and you have businesses and you have commitments. And so thank you on behalf of the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce. We truly appreciate the hard work you continue to commit each and every day. So I'll give you a quick note to revel in the thanks, a quick moment to revel in the thanks, and we'll hear from our sponsor, Encore.
At Encore, we empower modern life. Our storied legacy stretches across 1/3 of the state and touches more than 400 communities. We spark new opportunities and economic prosperity for the people of Texas. We're investing billions to build infrastructure and create a safer, smarter, more reliable grid, because innovation doesn't have an off switch.
Thank you so much, Encore. We greatly appreciate your continued sponsorship and partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. So we are going to go ahead and get back to the questions. You guys aren't quite off the hook yet. And if we have time at the end, I have some special rapid fire questions I didn't tell you about. So just don't blend into your chairs quite yet. So I understand that each of our cities are in a stronger position than we could have imagined. How do you anticipate continuing to handle sales tax collection or navigating changes in sales tax collection as we get back to business? So Rob, I'm going to shoot this one to you first.
Yeah, we've been extremely blessed. When this first hit, we were all concerned, with businesses shutting down, what effect is this going to have on our community? Because sales tax is 23% of our general fund, which, it's nothing to sneeze at, and it's something that we were concerned. So we kind of held back during that time because we were a little bit panicked of what's going to happen. And I'm just thankful for the leadership of Charles and a few others, to where we had some discretionary funding where we decided to, hey, let's hold back on these and some of these capital projects and just take pause, but let's make sure that we're taking care of our people first. So maintaining staff and saying, hey, we're not going to really furlough anyone. The only furloughs we did were jobs that were not yet filled, and just kind of put those on hold. But I think that allowed us to kind of sustain during that period, because I felt, if we take care of our people, it's going to speak volumes into the future in terms of what we're doing, and keeping people on staff and the way that we pivoted them, I think allowed us to, engage with our community a little bit more. Like, what program are we going to do? How are we dealing with our parks and opening up and allowing more staff to be there to say, hey, it's safe to go outside, and find that mental break, and just somewhat find a little bit of normalcy. But as we've gone through this, we've realized that with the efforts that we put in, and all of us put in across the board, engaging with our businesses, inspiring people to shop local, working with large companies to support local restaurants, and just making sure that we can keep businesses open and keep them safe. I think our communities did very well in the Metroplex in terms of the number of cases and people feeling comfortable going out, that it allowed us to have people shop. And our sales tax, we only lost about 5%. Of what our original number was, which according to our general fund, that's only a 1.1% decrease in the revenue we were expected over this last year. So, we've done very well, and that allowed us to re-engage with the idea of, hey, since we can't go to the rec center, let's reinvest in it now and provide new opportunities to, when people come back, it's more vibrant and engaging. And, what else can we do to help parents, open up summer camps, open up the pools, and do some of these other things. And I think had we not realized that trend was going to continue, I don't think we would have taken those steps, and it would have been a little bit more dire. So we're just grateful that our business community, which represents 76 to 78% kind of our community, was able to survive through that, and continue to allow us as a community to come out a little better than expected during this tough time.
Absolutely. Kevin?
So there is other than the COVID crisis, we're facing a lot of uncertainties about sales tax in many different ways. All of us, Texas recently lost its grandfathering on internet fees, which is, we're already seeing a decrease as a result of that. I think all of us will. Texas as a whole will. There are changes looming on how intrastate internet sales taxes will be allocated, and that likely will negatively impact all three of our cities. So we have a lot of those things in addition to just this craziness that's been going on. Like Rob said, we've been fortunate that sales tax hasn't declined through this crisis nearly as much as what we thought it might. But one of our strategic priorities in the last year has been preparing for an impending downturn. That's looking like we were really pretty smart, and I don't know if it was smart or we just had some good advice from people. But actually, even years before that, we actually implemented a council policy to cap our sales tax usage because sales tax does tend to fluctuate much more than other sources. And so we capped a few years ago our sales tax usage for recurring uses. In other words, for the things that you spend money on every year, right? The things that you have to spend money on once you commit to it for the next year. And we then are able to use that other portion of that for one-time uses, like a renovation of something or road repair. And that actually we've been able to reduce our bond and our overall liabilities from a debt perspective as a result of that. But it also has given us this cushion, essentially, so that when sales tax have these fluctuations and downturns, that we don't have to react in a very short-term negative manner. So we're very fortunate for that, and we're glad that we've had that policy in place so that we can do that kind of thing. And it showed this year. And as we're approaching the budget coming up, where we know we have these negative impacts that are coming along, that we can absorb that for the moment and figure this out in a much more strategic fashion.
Great, that's my turn. So we are very fortunate. You know, we have a lot of big company, and sales tax collection is based on the point of sales. So with all the restaurants, you know, we always worry we're going to have a big drop of sales tax, and also we have so many retail businesses. But we have 10% reduction of the sales tax. But still, it's not like Farmers Branch only have 5%. But it's already better than what everybody thought. Mm-hmm. You know, we thought, wow, got 190 restaurants, so many retails. This is going to be dropped terribly. But I have to appreciate all the friends, all the residents. They came up and support all the local businesses, and also give good tips. You know, it really helped. So they are so sympathetic. They said, Joe, I want you to survive. I want every business in Addison survive. So that's not something you can use money to buy. And then especially we thought, oh, our property tax maybe will be dropped. But since this is from previous year, so as a matter of fact, we have quite a bit of increase in the property tax. So it's balanced the sales tax. So as a matter of fact, you know, the COVID-19 didn't really damage our general fund so much, you know, and also through this, we'll learn even more about how prudent, how lucky we were, because we always save our minimum 25%, how we call it, reserve fund. But in general fund, we have 51%. So we are very fortunate. We have a great city manager, great finance director, great staff. So we will live through this COVID-19 just like that, yeah.
That is fantastic. And I think the overriding is you all love your staffs. So that is fantastic as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and hear from Reliant, an NRG company, one of our sponsors.
Everyone's unique. That's why Reliant lets you pick your free electricity plan. There's a free for the weekend warriors, a free for the night owls, and a free for those that need a little flexibility. Plus, no matter which free you pick, you get a Google Nest Hub on us, so you can keep track of your electricity. Free electricity plans that truly fit you. Reliant. That's power. Your way.
All right, thanks again, Reliant. We appreciate your continued support and partnership and sponsorship of the Chamber. All right, guys, we're going to be back to it again. So for many people, the shutdown brought their life to a grinding halt. But for others, especially our essential businesses, manufacturers, first responders, they were working each and every day. And we already said thank you to our first responders. But I actually heard, Rob, from the fire department in Farmers Branch, and they may be having a watch party. So we should probably give them a shout. So we saw a shift in recognition and awareness of jobs and skills we need to continue to invest and develop as a community of the future. How do we continue to equip our communities for jobs and a workforce built for tomorrow? I'm going to let you guys decide who answers that first.
I think Joe's up first.
Oh, it's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, you skipped one, so I should be first, the question before.
Here we go, here we go.
You know, that's what I mentioned, you know.
He's keeping track.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
We have so many business, we have 3,000 business in Addison, and mostly gathered together along tollway. That's the reason all the business like to gather together. And we have so much talent, and then can give this to all kinds of businesses. You know, I mean, I'm really proud of it. And the more business, similar business cluster together, and the more talents will come. So it's a trend. So I'm very confident with the current education around us, you know, the higher education around us. We will have more and more young people and talented young people come to Addison. Yeah. So I believe you know, Addison will move to another step in the future, you know, especially after the COVID-19. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, to, you know, kind of add on to what you were saying, you know, I think, you know, the education piece around us is crucial. And the great thing about our communities is we all share kind of Dallas College, you know,
Right.
formerly Brookhaven. And a lot of our kids go to CFB ISD schools, you know, some go to DISD, and you have some in Louisville and some other things. But, you know, retaining and cultivating talent, you know, in our communities for what the future of business is going to look like, because we know there's going to be some disruption from this. So how are we going to work to provide that workforce development for what's coming next? And there's no better partner than, you know, Dallas College to partner with our chambers, to partner with our cities, to partner with our schools to say, and our businesses to say, what do we need to create? And how are we going to create that? And how can we be a part of that process? You know, what things might the city be able to contribute to help, you know, the school district, you know, even the business community of what their needs are. And I think it also starts in the, you know, primary and secondary education levels as well. You know, start in the ground floor of ensuring and working with our school districts to make sure, you know, they're learning what they need to prepare them for, you know, the future and entering the workforce, because, you know, not everyone's going to go to college, right? But we have to find ways to prepare people to enter the world after high school to have a career, but not only a career, but a career that leads to success for them and their families. And I think it's just a larger effort between all of us to find new pathways to create that and just create opportunities for future success for not only our kids, but, you know, people that live in our communities now that need to change kind of their thought process and jobs for a changing marketplace. And, you know, we have the resources to do that.
And you're right, the Dallas College Brookhaven has been such a great partner with certainly with the school district, but with all of us in the community, right? So they're right there with us, and I've been so impressed with how they will flex and modify things to make sure. And I think that's a big key during all this, right? Is that we have to be always ready to change and be flexible as we start to see how things. And none of us really know how things are going to look on the other side yet, right? Is that as an architect, that's one of the things that in our industry we are constantly talking about is how do we change our building designs according to what we've seen with this whole pandemic. And I'm confident that it is going to look different. I'm not sure that it's going to look like it is today. I don't think it's that, but I think that it's going to look different. And so I think that is an important thing, is just like you said, that we've got to be diligent about changing and flexing as we need to do that. I think one of the things that all of us, Joe, you just mentioned it earlier, we're doing it at Farmers Branch. The mixed use development, which has been around a little bit, but the mixed use development, I believe, this is your field, right? I mean, development, but the mixed use development, I think, is a key thing to be really paying attention to, because as we start thinking about work from home or work close to home, right? And so when you can start getting those businesses where they're close to where people live, I think that's what's going to win. And quite frankly, these three cities are poised for that better than almost anyone, right? Because we are the first ring suburbs. We're those ones where there is a great integration of business and a great lifestyle living area. And so I think that's an important thing, that we just have to continue to look for those things where we can provide great opportunities for businesses to come in and people to be able to live very close by, if not in the same development, and then just continue to look at that and flex and just don't be stuck in yesterday.
Yeah, the access and opportunities and availability of our community just being in the path of redevelopment and revitalization. I mean, we're going to start to see so much change in our communities just based on where we're at and the opportunities that we have. I mean, we're in a very fortunate position, and I think, you know, not only do our city budgets reflect that, and the opportunities and the way that we're able to reinvest in our communities, whether that's through amenities, whether that's through infrastructure, whether that's through other things. Like, we might not see a golden era like this again for another 20, 30, 40 years. So we need to make sure that we're hitting the developments in the right spot, and that they're taking into account not only this, but how are they going to be successful in the future. And just a quick, shameless plug for Dallas College and Early College High School just getting recognized as a Blue Ribbon School is tremendous to reflect the quality of education that you're getting in our communities through these efforts. So, just it's fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely echo Kevin's.
Yeah.
You live close by where you work, whether you work at home or the office. You save all the time in traveling. Also, you keep the environment cleaner. There will be less pollution. So it's great. I believe they can use additional time to be more productive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just talking with some folks at Jones Lang LaSalle and some other people about how that whole thing about I think we're right in the center of the convergence, because there's some concern about these central business districts, right? Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily close to where people live. When you're way out on the perimeter, you're out there where there's not we're right in that sweet spot, right?
Yep.
Where you have enough room that you can enjoy where you're living. You're not, if you are working from home, you're not confined to something that feels very constricting, but your work can be very close by. And so I think that's something that we right here in the Metrocrest have a real opportunity to benefit from.
Every time I drove by, I see a lot of multifamily going up in Farmers Branch and in Carrollton as well. Not just Addison anymore.
No.
But I remember 2000, Addison Circle was the first one.
That's right.
So we won a lot of awards. We take the lead, but now you see everybody is building up. Yeah. So
our master developer on our Trinity Mill station was the lead designer on the Addison Circle.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
What is exciting is the next part is going to be what's new and what's next. So quickly, we're going to take a quick break and hear from Republic Services.
Or burn some more.
All right, thanks again, Republic Services. So we will get back to it. So now we can, shake the past couple months out of our systems and say we talked about it, and you will continue to lead the same way you've led for the past several years and several months, which is from the front, and continue to lead forward. So we're going to get back to talking about each of you. And, I know you all don't really love talking about yourselves, but you're mayors. So you're going to have to for a few minutes with me, okay?
All right.
Okay.
We'll force ourselves.
You'll force yourselves. You'll force yourselves. Joe's just smiling down there. He's like, all right, I can talk about myself. But so what are the top 3 things you have accomplished during your time as mayor that the business and residential community may not know about you? I'm not going to pick who goes first because nobody loves to talk about themselves.
So
Joe's going first.
okay, I go first.
Yeah.
I'm most proud of is, we earned AAA bond rating. And I'm not trying to brag about myself, but I remember this is my second run as mayor. The first time, I think in 2008, we earned the first time AAA bond rating from S&P. But last year, we earned AAA bond rating from Moody's. So then we reaffirmed this bond rating again. And recently we did some issuing some bond, and then the interest rate is just 1.4%. And you know what? They need to pay us $1.6 million premium to get this 1.4% interest bond. And when we did refunding, that's 1.1%. It's just never heard of. I never heard of. I wish we, as a private sector owner, can get this kind of a
It's
low
one of the things
note.
that I tell when I'm telling my residents, and you talk about AAA bond rating, it is saves them money.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it is
Save
an
all the
important thing.
taxpayers'
This is
money.
not just a symbol. It
And
means
then
something.
the other thing is, last year we received how we call the ISO rating, the top ISO rating, insurance office
Welcome
service.
to the club.
This means we have the best fire department, right? So all the equipment, the working attitude, all this fire policy meet to the top. So I'm really proud of that as well. Now look at all the capital improvements going on. We are doing the continue doing the Vitruvian Park, building that out. Then we have FBO coming. We have custom facility is under construction at the airport. So there are so many things going on, and also Midway. The Midway Road, we're going to redo that completely from Spring Valley to Kettle Spring. I'm really happy. I want to praise Farmers Branch for letting us to have the rightest land from Spring Valley all the way to Bellway, so we can have total control of Midway Road. So really appreciate you all. Thank you, Mayor Dye, worked together with me on this regard. So I'm so proud of it, So as a neighboring city, we all work together as a team. So it will be beneficial to every one of us, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to add kind of to what you said, I mean, it's easy to, talk about lowering the tax rate or increasing our senior exemptions to help those. But I think, three things that people don't know is Midway Road actually happened because our communities had a long-standing dispute from, previous leadership.
Yeah.
And then Joe and me kind of stepped in and said, hey, we're going to get this figured out, and great work with my council and your council to find a way to address problems from our community and yours, to find a path forward and to rebuild kind of a relationship that had deteriorated, that led to a lot more things. And I'm glad we got this extra, or at least me, got this extra 6 months, because we finished one of the final pieces of that agreement where we talked about on the front end to add Bella Road, but to get the well to clean the water and make sure that it's flowing in our creeks a little bit better. And you all got Midway, and it worked out. But one of the other things was, I think, in Carrollton, it might not be your favorite thing to talk about, but extending the life of our landfill and getting that expansion, is going to be a huge benefit to our community in the future. Like, we're not going to see it today. It's an extra $1.2 million a year, to where over the life of the landfill for the next 24, 25 years, we're going to bring in almost $52 million worth of revenue to the city, and that's going to add a tremendous benefit of what we're able to do in the future once we're done building the scale house over there. But one of the things that I'm most proud of, which is probably not on anyone's radar, is getting TxDOT to agree to give us an exit finally for the first time in my life when they redo I-35 from 635 going east on the direct flyover interchange to Valley View, where we're building our new downtown kind of TOD DART station development. That's going to make it such a huge success, but that's going to give people so much more time back on their life, because right now I have to exit 161 and go to Valley View and spend 5 minutes to get to that side of town, or loop around in some other way. But to have that direct access, I think just some of these things are so far out that you're not going to recognize them now, but we're going to be so thankful for in the future. And I think those are some of the things that I'm kind of proud of, is we weren't thinking of in the moment, and what can I pound my chest about now? It's what are we doing to prepare our city for the most success in the future?
Yeah, when I think of, first of all, when I think about, it's not what I've done, it's what we've done, and it's staff, it's the council, it's our fellow communities. And so I think what I'd say I'm most proud of is one is vision. And I think this is important for all of us, is that I believe that we've got a very focused vision now. Our vision in Carrollton is to be the community that families and businesses want to call home. I asked my council when I first got on, I was like, does anybody have any idea what our vision is? And including myself, I had no idea. I know I'd helped write it when I was on city council, but it was like 4 pages long. And so focusing on that and getting people to be able to, from council with our staff, to start to really understand that vision, and that everything we do that's our North Star, and we move towards that. So I think that it really excites me when I hear residents and staff and others talk about that, creating that community that businesses want to call home, or families want to call home. I think the other thing that I would say is unity and belonging. And that's a little bit of what you just talked about with unity among our cities. And one of the first things that when I came on, there was a lot of, we had council chambers full of people who were at the time very concerned about some policies we had in place that made them not feel like they belonged. And you know, we have great diversity in all of our communities, and that's kind of that's where we start, because we have great diversity, which is good, and we want to make sure we have that inclusion, which is super important, and I think we've all done well at that. But the final stage is that belonging piece, right? That you have to feel like you belong. And so we were able to navigate a very difficult situation, and I think where we came out is that people felt like they belonged again. And so that goes across so many things that we're doing, and so I think that unity and belonging is a key piece. And the other one is just branding, kind of bringing that kind of from the business side of things, and Kelly Lewis, my director of marketing, and I align fully on this, is that just starting, we have to think of our city as a brand, right? And that's not, I don't mean that from a shallow perspective. I just mean that you have to understand what you stand for, and you have to project that. And so that's something I think that we've been able to really hone and start focusing on. Again, that's a strategy. And I think all the things that you normally think of when you say, what have you done? It tends to be those things about where we brought this project and all these things. Those are really the result, I hope, of what we do when we think of those longer term strategies.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, we're going to quickly hear from one of our sponsors, Thomson Reuters.
Across the world, we all now have a shared experience of adapting to change. The challenges we face may differ, but we've all questioned what the future may hold. Many of us have needed to alter our routines in our careers, at home, and within our communities. Organizations recognize things might be like this for a while and have developed processes to support their teams. Faced with rapidly evolving regulations and cost squeezes, confident decisions are more important than ever. With each change, we're learning that returning to normal isn't going to cut it anymore. Instead, we've been presented with an opportunity to reshape our ways of working for the better, becoming fitter and more resilient. Today's challenges have inspired change, and together, we have a responsibility to continue the progress made as we shape a new tomorrow. Thomson Reuters has the solutions, tools, and information needed to forge the future for professionals. Together, we can create better teams, better efficiencies, better capabilities, and better decisions. Let's shape tomorrow together.
Thanks again, Thomson Reuters. I was going to start using that accent, but I
Yeah.
think for everyone's benefit, I'm not going to.
I don't think it's a Texas accent.
I don't even know what that was, but I think it doesn't sound good in my voice. So for your benefit and viewers at home, not today, but next year, hang tight and we'll see what happens.
Good. You practice on the Thomson Reuters
I'm going to
accent.
practice. I'm going to call Thomson Reuters down the street in Carrollton and see if they
Does
can
sound
get
good.
some coaching lessons. So speaking of coaching and future coaching, what are you excited about in terms of future development? I actually know that this is probably the most exciting thing to talk about, because this year we've just been talking about really what hasn't been happening. And I think if we're going to talk about our business community moving forward, I know that actually our board talks about this a lot. Like, how do we get started if we just don't get started? And so I think a lot of businesses are in this process too. Like, how do we move forward? How do we mourn the loss of a business plan? How do we get into what's next? And I know that actually each of you are brilliant in this. Joe, you own a business that's been around for 30 years. Kevin, you're an architect and you like architecting. That's a new word we came up with the other day. And Rob, this is actually your bread and butter as a small business owner and a developer. So what are you excited about in terms of future development and projects to help our communities attract new businesses? Or maybe what's on your docket? What are you looking forward to next? Whose turn is it first?
Maybe me.
Okay, Joe, it's always you.
This is a number 7, so
Okay.
it come back to me.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of our new possible development in the near future. Since, and like Farmers Branch and Carrollton, you already got a transit-oriented development along your rail station. But for Addison, we fought for 38 years. Finally, the silver line is coming through to our existing DART station. So luckily, with all the vision of the former city manager, mayor, and city council, and then we purchased 18 acres totally, the land around the station.
Right.
So DART owned some over there as well. So we have a better control of the future development. So it will be huge. When I see the preliminary plan, and they are like a 4-story, 8-story, at least 8, 12-story building. It's going to be mixed use. It's going to be huge. It probably will be even bigger than Addison Circle itself, even though we consider it as part of Addison Circle development. So we have gone through a lot of workshop, so recently we approved this item to hire Cushman and Wakefield, the real estate company, as our broker to try to find the best developers. So we will see. It's going to be, I think, minimum $1 billion project. So it will be huge. So it's still in progress. On top of that, earlier I mentioned we have a lot of other development going on at Addison Airport, customer facility, new FBO, Galaxy, and then Vitruvian, still the west phase 2, still under construction. So it's going to be huge. We're going to be busy in the near future, yeah. In other words, what you can foresee is our tax revenue going to be increased.
That's good.
So people living in Addison can really benefit from these growing developments, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about developments, and then, the last question you answered when you talked about vision and where are we going and what's our community going to become. I mean, we've taken a programmatic approach to what is the new vision for the I-35 corridor, which, is going to be complementary to what Carrollton has been doing all through there in terms of, not only what Trammell Crow and High Street's doing in downtown Carrollton, but what Integral's trying to do at Trinity Mills. We're looking to do the same thing at our DART station area to create a true downtown that is vibrant and connected and brings people together in a way that we haven't had. I mean, we're sitting here in the award-winning Firehouse Theatre, which is a staple of our downtown kind of DART station area. But, when the restaurants finally open and we start adding more art and entertainment and places to eat and shop and bring more density, it's just going to bring this area alive, and I think be the catalyst to what is going to be a transformation up to Carrollton and up towards 161. But then I also think of our east side and the vision that we have over there, and how are we going to be not only complementary to Midtown and that development that's kind of impending, but how are we going to be supplemental to Addison as well? And you're going to start to see older, functionally obsolete buildings change that bring more density. And when you think about the asset values of these, as you talked about, I mean, you're taking warehouses that, let's say it's just, give it 1 point, new multifamily, new office, you're looking at 7 to 10x that value that's going to be created over there. And what that's going to allow us to do is what we've been doing these past few years is take that new revenue, especially with revenue caps coming in, that's off the books, and allows us to reallocate funds to reinvest in our streets, to reinvest in our parks, to reinvest in our facilities. But how do we also lower the tax rate to make it cheaper for businesses, to make it cheaper for development to actually come? Because if we're lowering operating expenses, they're going to see more opportunity here. So how can we keep that going and keep that vision to keep revitalizing, Farmers Branch in a way that we protect the central core of our community where a lot of people have lived forever? But how do we take opportunities, the vacant land along I-35 and functionally obsolete buildings on the east side of our city to say we can do something greater here that brings more presence to an area that should have it, just based on the location and what we touched on earlier. And I think seeing that vision finally come together, all the years of studies finally start to take place and grab some momentum, I think is just a wonderful opportunity in front of us to not only enhance Farmers Branch, but to enhance the Metrocrest area and supplement all the amazing things you guys are doing in Addison and Carrollton.
Yeah, and it is rarely do people know when they're crossing over a city boundary, right? And so, especially in our communities.
That's why we changed the street color signs, or the street signs.
Yeah. That's because otherwise you have no idea. But I think you're exactly right. And I believe that Farmers Branch and Addison are the same way. One of the things I'm most proud of about Carrollton is that staff and our councils have been very long-term, patient thinkers over a long time. And so, for example, the Trinity Mills Station development, which is, you mentioned it, it's going to be similar to, I believe, where Mayor Chow mentioned with their Silver Line development. It is one that we've owned that land for a very long time and been very patient for the right time to do that. We now are in the phase of getting this thing actually to come out of the ground. And it's going to be an outstanding opportunity to build business in Carrollton. And but that's been a long, long time coming. But then we also recently acquired 100 acres of property immediately across the highway. That's not going to happen while I'm mayor or while my city council members likely are not going to see. But it's going to be something that will be great for in the future, right? It's something that they see, and we see that happening consistently, is that the council has that vision that this is about the community, not just now, but in the future. And we do have just lots of great things happening now, though, that are those things that were mentioned, and our downtown continues to just boom, and the Thomas area development with single-family homes that you can walk to his train station, and Crosby Urban Village, it's going to be an absolutely outstanding southern bookend to our downtown, and Olympus on Broadway, where we're going to have an additional 350. And those are all positive things that come and build for our businesses, especially our small businesses, right? Because they are going to provide that close proximity right there. And so we're just seeing that is that holistic way to approach pro-business in my mind. And as you mentioned, fiscal responsibility and doing things where we can reduce our tax rate. We just reduced our tax rate for the 7th year in a row. You guys did a big tax rate decrease. I mean, so those are things that help our businesses, and we want it part of our vision of making a community that families and business want to call home.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to quickly hear from one of our sponsors, TXU.
TXU Energy understands that some days you just need a free pass. Free Pass gives you free electricity on the 7 days you use the most every month. Now with 2 extra free days a month all summer long. Drop the beat!
Thanks again, TXU. So as we are slowly but surely winding down, I've got 2 more questions, and then I'm going to have time for those ones we didn't prepare for, so hang on tight. Each of you understand the importance of business advocacy. As business owners yourselves and active participants in the business community, what do you see on the horizon for the upcoming legislative session that will play a key role in how we can partner to support the business community alongside our cities? Actually, this will take the rest of the time, so I'm just going to throw these cards behind me. But
This one's a hard one to
I
keep a
know.
smile on our face.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know
this one's,
87th session and last session wasn't so friendly to cities, so I don't know how we'll
I'm not
answer
sure
this
that's
one.
changing this session.
I don't think so either. So best of luck answering.
Well, I think first of all, I think it's clear that for this legislative session, the thing that's going to be top of mind for everyone is funding. We're already, the comptroller's already showing a $4.6 billion deficit for this coming year. It's possible that the biennial budget could be as bad as a negative 20 or more billion dollars. Those are B's, not M's. So the legislature has a real challenge on their hand on how they can ensure that they're funding the things that they've already committed to. So that's going to be a top of mind thing. I think the thing that you just alluded to and mentioned is that the legislature has not been kind, and openly, this isn't like us just feeling this, right? The leadership has been openly vocal about saying that mayors and county judges are not going to enjoy this session. What I want to encourage residents and business owners is that that's not good for them either. This isn't just about mayors and county judges not feeling good. The reason we won't feel good about it is not because of anything personal for us. It's because it's not good for our businesses and our residents. Local control, I think almost everyone would agree that the closer you are to the people, the better that we can govern. And I would argue that it's pretty easy to look at the way that Washington, D.C. is governed, and then even in Austin, and then look at how we govern at the local level, and that we can get things done. And all three of us, I believe, that is the one thing I'm proud of, is that we actually get things done. But so I think that, quite frankly, we're having to play defense on that a lot. But it's something that I think that our businesses and residents need to realize, that when we're talking about those things, that isn't a strong thing for them as well. And I think that one of our senators recently just gave a editorial piece that was really enlightening about how that isn't a good situation for any of us, and that we need to just be diligent about that, and ensuring that all these good things that we're able to do in the local government, that we don't end up with handcuffs where we can't do anything.
I think you're spot on, and I think now more than ever, it's making sure that we have the right relationships with our state representatives that actually believe in cities. And you speaking to the point that we know what's best for our own communities better than anyone. Like, Farmers Branch's challenges are different than Addison's challenges, that are different than Carrollton's challenges, and to say that one size solution
and certainly
fits all.
even more different than a rural town out in West Texas or East Texas or Austin or Dallas, right?
I mean, exactly. And so, making sure that we're fighting for legislation that, allows us to operate within our own best interest, I think you're going to see that. And we're all three very active in the Metrocrest Mayors Association, where, I think we need to take a more programmatic approach and more effective approach in terms of speaking to legislators on a bigger level, that we, as mayors of one of the most important regions, not only in Texas, but in the United States, just because of what Dallas-Fort Worth is, how do we make, our issues and, what our community's needs are known at the state level, because you were negatively impacting us and have previously. And we're only 20% of, rounded of the overall tax bill, and you think that you're giving some break to people because of the controls you're putting on us, when you're actually probably, as you said, limiting our opportunity to do even more for our constituents.
And these
because of
aren't
the
all
pressures.
just tax things.
No.
They're forcing our hand on development
Yeah.
and on advocacy and all kinds of things.
Exactly. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I think most of our cities are home rule cities. In other words, we have our own police department, fire department, park, street, public works. So we have to have enough general fund tax revenue to support those things, right? So last session, they lowered the revenue cap from 8% down to 3%. So they tie our arms and legs, which is really bad. They just think of themselves. They didn't think if we run into some problem, and who is going to pay us? Who is going to help us, right? So just as Kevin mentioned, the local controls. We want to make sure we have enough freedom of our local cities. That's number one priority. So we don't want the state tell us not to do what to do all the time, restrain our financial opportunity, As a matter of fact, we want to lower tax rate. We want to have a low tax to our citizens. That's always our goal, isn't it, right? So how often you will run for your mayorship and tell people, I'm going to raise your taxes if I'm elected, right? Nobody will do that, right? So if our legs and arms were tied, how can we do that, right? How can we make sure our finance is well and sound? So just like you run for small businesses like yours, we have to, a lot of time I ask people, you make so much money and how much you saved? They said, oh, I save $100 a week. I said, is that enough? I remember when I was a young guy, before I had my restaurant, I saved more than 50% what I earned. That's the prudent financial policy. That's what we are having in Addison. We always keep minimum 25%, but the most fund is 35, 40. General fund is 51%. Even with all the pandemic, it's still 45% for the next year. So I'm saying is we have to fight our local control, freedom of local cities. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, if we have opportunity to reverse the revenue cap, that's another task. So all the local city have to be united together, have the same one voice. We'll be able to achieve that. If the state representatives or state senators don't cooperate with our cities, just don't vote for them, right? They're representing us. They don't work with us. So why you want to vote for them, right?
That's right.
That's my take on it.
The other challenge is, we're one of the 13 cities that help fund DART. We're not a 4A, 4B city. So capping our revenue, we're up against even more challenges than some of the other communities around us for, being a little bit more forward thinking and providing a greater service for the region as a whole, and helping build out that network that allow people to have mobility and other things, and realizing that I would love to have another cent back. Our tax rate would probably be 15 cents lower, if we had that, and we could still do everything that we're doing. But, we were part of a bigger, solution and a bigger opportunity for our region to make sure that it is as strong as it is. But, some of these measures that keep being put in place, I don't think they're taking any of those things into consideration and how we truly operate and the needs that we have to truly provide, not only for our residents, but also for our businesses. And it's frustrating on many levels.
Yep.
All right, well, I want to quickly put up the sponsor slide one last time, and I'd like to thank each and every one of them by name. So you guys get a momentary break to take a drink of water or rest before the rapid question round, because we're down to the last 5 minutes. So once we put up that slide, I'm going to read them all to you on Zoom or on Facebook Live, because I know that each and every one of them continue to support the Chamber during this tough time for small businesses and corporations, and we incredibly are appreciative of their continued support. So, and just prepare yourselves. And also, Rob, Chris called from Big Game while we were sitting here, so he probably called you too, and we got to get back to work, so there's no rest at the Chamber. So if we can put that slide up, and then it is up. Okay, I can't see the same thing. So I want to thank Atmos, Encore, Reliant, Republic Services, TXU, Thomson Reuters, Plains Capital, Frost Bank, BB&T Now, Truist, Dallas College, Brookhaven Campus, Valwood Improvement Authority, Southwest Airlines, Metrocrest Hospital Authority, Linebaugher, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson's, Three Nations, Addison, Carrollton, and Farmers Branch. So we are so appreciative of your continued support. So now with the last 4 minutes, we're going to get to the rapid round and then one last closing question. Okay, Joe, you're first. You didn't hear about this question. Did you truly invent the sesame chicken?
Yes, I did.
You did, okay.
In 1987. You can come to
1987.
my restaurant, look at 2 flags on the wall. So walk of a cock, and then I earn by inventing the sesame chicken.
Is this a rapid question?
This is a rapid question, but
I earned 2 plaques. Remember that. You know, one is the most professional competition. The other is the most creative cuisine. You know, so I'm very proud of it. I wish I got a patent.
I love sesame
so
chicken.
I would have retired a long time ago.
That's all I eat at the May Dragon.
That's what a robber eat all the time,
Every time.
right?
Yeah.
congratulations. And again, congratulations on 37 years at your restaurant. It's a very
Thanks.
big deal. Okay, Kevin, what is the best pizza? What is your signature pizza?
Not brand.
Not brand. Oh no, that's assumed.
Yes.
What is your signature topping?
I
Not brand ever.
I am a, and this may not sound, I'm a grilled chicken, bell peppers, and tomatoes guy.
Okay,
That is what I like.
I would not have assumed that. Okay,
That
I'm
is
gonna
what I like.
Write it down. I'll remember that.
And the rest of my
Okay.
family doesn't eat that. So
okay, so you're on your. You don't have to share.
I don't have to share it.
Smart to have a pizza just for you.
That's right.
Yeah, that's actually very smart. All right, Rob, how many hairstyles is too many hairstyles during your mayorship?
You know, hair's not promised. And
Okay.
if I was guaranteed to have Kevin's hair at his age, I'd probably
Oh, thanks.
Stop
At
doing
his advanced age.
stop. I wouldn't change it as much.
Joe,
But
Joe has a great
Joe
head.
has great hair too. But I mean, you just
Both
look
of
at
our
this.
advanced
I mean,
stages.
it's wonderful. So I gotta do what I can while I
Which
still got
one
it.
has been your favorite?
This one.
Okay, let's keep it like that.
Impressive.
All right.
You know what? Robert can wear like that. You know,
Yeah.
if I
I
do
tried that
it
once,
look
it didn't
odd,
look
you know,
right.
on me.
You
know.
tried the man bun?
No, I tried this one.
Oh, I just wanted. You
Yeah,
did?
no, I haven't tried the man bun.
When was that? When did you
Well,
try the
I could have had a
shade
man
size?
bun back when I was in high school.
Okay, those will be the pictures we use next year for the promotion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is great. We'll find your pictures too. We'll see what you.
All right.
Okay, that rapid fire went different than I thought, and I liked it. Let's leave on a positive note. Where have you found blessings for yourselves personally and professionally throughout this past year? And any closing comments you'd like to leave it on?
My closing comments are just simple. It's not just the past year, it's the past 3.5 years, you know, truly getting to know the staff, police officers, our fire department, and just in the wonderful people that they are and the care and energy that they put into this community. It really is a labor of love. And, you know, I've worked with some of the best people I've ever met, and I think about the council members as well, the 6 that I've had the opportunity to work alongside, just what I've learned from them personally that has made me a better person and that I get to carry forward in the future is just tremendous. But, you know, the relationships with the businesses, with our residents, and with the community at large, with individuals in your city and your councils and businesses and residents as well. It's just, you know, I feel very blessed and loved, and it's just been an amazing experience and wouldn't trade it for the world. So.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, when you get into crisis like we've been in, you start to understand what's really important, right? And I think relationships are almost always that. What you just said was all relationship based, right? And I agree with that 100%. It's with my council, who I love dearly, each one of them, and our staff, who has just been so supportive, and then, like I said, building relationships here. But I guess just a little one for me that's more COVID related is that some of you know I've been building a home, and we've been living in a very small, my daughter's home for a year.
Yeah.
A very small home, working from home with 3 dogs and 3 adults and cats, and that is I think one of those things that we I will always cherish, right? That time where you're really, those relationships make so much difference. So something that really changed.
That's my turn. So I'm very fortunate. All my 4 children all graduated from college, all have jobs, all married, and then, my wife and I, we are empty nesters. So we live in the environment at Emily, just walking for 6 minutes to work. And then if driving, just 1 minute. So I'm very blessed. Then you talk about the business. Through the pandemic, all my friends, all my people I've known want to support us, make sure we survive, succeed, which, as a matter of fact, we made more sales than before pandemic from May, June, July, August, September. So I'm very blessed. And then as far as council members, we have disagreement, but we always work together. And plus I have wonderful staff like Mary, Wes, every department is so sound. So Addison is so vibrant still, and the people are united together and resilient. And I believe after all this go away, we'll be even better than before. That's what I always hope, and I believe it will be. Just as Kevin mentioned, through those disasters, just like September 11 before, did you see? People love each other even more, right? So that's the great community we are living in today. So, just like Farmers Branch, Carrollton, and Addison, we're like a bond together. So remember, so we still need to meet.
Yes.
Once a month.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, thank you all so much. And I know on behalf of the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce, we simply couldn't continue to function and serve our businesses without the 3 of you. And on my personal behalf, Mayor Chow, Mayor Falconer, Mayor Dye, but really Joe, Kevin, and Robert, I am so thankful for your continued friendship and sense of humor and always answering my calls. But you're not done this year yet. You still have to continue to answer them. But I want to thank the communications team. And I also want to give a special shout out to Tom Bryson, who this is his last Mayor's Forum. And so you can't see him. He is behind the camera. And so we really appreciate all of the work he's done for us over the years at the City of Farmers Branch. So if you're joining us on Zoom, thank you for joining us. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, thank you for joining us. And just think, it is 1:03 and you have absolutely no commute back to your office, and you did not have to have chamber chicken. And we are welcome. We didn't have to have chamber chicken too. So thank you again to all of our sponsors. Thank you for hanging tight with the business community during this time. We will continue to find unity in the community, work together, and come out better as we work together. So thank you so much on behalf of the Metrocrest Chamber of Commerce for joining us for the 2020 Virtual Mayors Forum. Thank you again, guys, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye.
Bye.